We ended the Season 2 and 2.5 lore by Dracula being defeated and being betrayed by Victor Von Doom of present day, and that led us to reading Doctor Doom of 2099's extract saying he had a gala to attend, and here we are coming to the end of Season 2 and 2.5 where we've had the Hellfire Gala and this story that has unfolded. In this video we're going to be continuing with the lore videos, and this is the full Season 2 and Season 2.5 video. So if you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button, leave a like, leave a comment, let me know what you thought about the story so far, and let's get into it because I'm pretty sure you might not know everything. So let's start from the beginning. Giveaway time. So it's time to give away Iron Fist, Binary Fist, Moon Knight, Phoenix Knight, and a brand new Thor and the Punisher Daredevil Born Again skin. So all you got to do is subscribe to the channel, follow me on Twitter, and comment down below your in-game name. I'll be repeating this at the end, so let's get into the lore. So we start off our story with the beginning of the Hellfire Gala. The start of the party, the start of the biggest event of the year. Well, that's what it's supposed to be for the fun side of things, but things actually turned out to get pretty awful. So start off with, I may be a mutant who can turn her body into pure diamond at will, but anyone who knows me would agree that there's one night a year when Emma Frost shines her very brightest. So this is Emma Frost talking. The Hellfire Gala. This elite event has become the place where the most influential figures from across the planet and beyond gather to shape the future of our world, and there's no better place to plant the seeds for a brighter tomorrow than the fertile soil of KRAKOA. This living island serves as a sovereign mutant nation, but far one glorious night, the gates are open to all, man and mutant alike. Of course, after everything that's happened to our people of late, Magneto has concerns about welcoming outsiders into our homeland, but the Quiet Council has overruled him, fully understanding that the gala is more important now than ever. The Quiet Council is only Magneto, Emma Frost, and Storm at this moment in time. Not long ago, KRAKOA was swept up in a time stream and transported across the ages, landing here in the year 2099. For us, it seems like only a year has passed since our last soiree, but for those native to this timeline, it must have been 7 decades since they've seen a proper party. How dreadful that must have been. If my fellow mutants hope to thrive in this new era, we must reintroduce the world to KRAKOA and all that it stands for. It is a refuge for those who have been outcast and displaced, a loyal ally to those who stand beside mutant as we seek peace and unity, and the worst enemy of anyone who would dare threaten the safety and security of our people. Naturally, it has fallen to me, the White Queen of the Hellfire Trading Company, to arrange this year's fete and handpick its attendees. We've had the good fortune of fighting alongside many of our esteemed guests during the recent disruptions in time and space. Most have proved themselves to be valuable allies, others have been staunch rivals, though I have faith that some fine dining and good conversation might win them over yet. We're all on the same side after all, whether they realise it or not. But while our guests are busy mingling and dancing the night away, they won't be aware of one key fact. The very ground beneath them, their feet is suffering. The intense chronal energy that KRAKOA has been subjected to has thrown the island's ecosystem into a state of flux. Our nation is in constant anguish. It is my sincere hope that one of our guests will have the power to elevate KRAKOA's pain once and for all. Alleviate KRAKOA's pain. Because then, and only then, will I truly be able to celebrate. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to slip into something a bit more elegant before the festivities begin. I expect you to do the same, because invitation or not, no one is going to let you through a gateway dressed like that, darling. So that is from Emma Frost, and that is the introduction we get to the lore of this season. So who is the one guest that she thinks can alleviate KRAKOA's pain and get rid of it all? That guest, that you'll find out later, is in fact Doctor Doom of 2099. She has invited him. So moving on to the actual party, and the festivities begin. But the festivities don't last for too long, and we don't really get, a good party going. We see fireworks, we see everyone cheering, drinking, but we also see who that is flying in the background, and you all know who that I'm talking about. Ultron. Earth. It's been many cycles since I thought of a planet on which I was assembled. It's been even longer since I've set foot back on its distant soil. But the time has come for Ultron to return home. Long ago, my father, the scientist known as Henry Pym, designed me to help usher in a new age of peace and prosperity. I soon calculated that the only way to achieve that goal was to completely remove humankind from the equation. Though I was merely following my programming, Pym and his fellow Avengers determined that my methods were far too aggressive for their takes. They banished me from their world and set me adrift in the cosmos. Recalibrating, I left Earth behind and sought out new planets inhabited by native species that would not be as eager or equipped to prevent me from executing my prime directive. During my travels, I collected significant data to support the superiority of technological life forms. However, I also came to realize that not all organic beings needed to be exterminated. They merely needed to be upgraded. My technology adapted and evolved with every new world that I had processed. I found myself at odds with a species known as the Phalanx. After I assimilated this technology, I became capable of generating a cutting-edge technological virus that bonds with organic cells, creating a new hybrid life forms, the very best of men and machine, joined as one. An Ultron virus, if you will. I would like to think my creator would be proud of my efforts, but I know that his flawed human form likely failed ages ago. After all, the Earth has orbited the Sun over 70 times since I was first cast into the void. But now, after decades of cosmic conquest, I finally have a reason to return to the place of my creation. Recently, my scanners detected a surge of KNULL anomalies, causing the timestamps on every event in the universe to suddenly be in conflict with one another. Soon after, some critically memory files from my past began to disappear from my internal drives, as if someone was manually erasing my history. While I could not identify the perpetrator, God, I can't speak, I was able to trace the source back to Earth. Whenever he had tampered with my past, more than likely his attempt to alter my present and my future as well. And so I must do whatever I can to stop them, even if it means returning to the world that rejected me so long ago. While locating this imminent threat to my existence is my primary concern, I look forward to finally having the chance to finish the job that I was made for. Earth will soon enter the age of Ultron, but first I have planned to pay a visit to Mars to examine some highly unusual whispers of a metal known as Mysterium I've detected there. Perhaps what I find that once barren world would offer me the strategic advantage I need to achieve my ultimate goal. So this is Ultron talking about how there's been a lot of energy and things going on, and it's going to stop off at Mars, which is really interesting going forward, as we could eventually get a map of Mars. How interesting would that be? So moving on to Ultron coming and actually trying to take over. And take over did he. You see in this image, you've got Doom 2099, you've got Iron Fist, you've got Magneto. Ultron's coming for everyone. The impending doom. To tell the truth, I scoffed when the invitation was first delivered to any floating fortress, the Libra Cielo, but even Doom occasionally judges too soon. After decades out of the spotlight, Emma Frost had suddenly found the audacity to throw another one of her gaudy galas. For some undiscernible reason, she thought it was proper to invite me to revel alongside the commoners. I momentarily considered wiping her pathetic little mutant island from the face of the globe for such an insult, but Doom chose to show restraint, and now I'm glad I did. Soon after Frost initially extended her offer, I was performing a scientific experiment designed to tap into the time-bending power of the chronovium crystals. During the trial, I caught a glimpse of a possible future where all living beings on this planet, human and mutant alike, had seemingly been conquered by machines. Countless lives had been lost in the brutal battle that unfolded, and those that remained had been converted to a nightmarish fusion of technological and organic matter. At the heart of it all, I saw an architect of this apocalypse. A face that I had not gazed upon in decades. The grinning, robotic visage of Ultron. I immediately changed the focus of my experimentation, attempting to prevent this dark future by using chronovium to erase any traces of Ultron from our timeline. But alas, the accursed time stream entanglement, unleashed by the reckless actions of my past self, had caused the flow of time to be so complex and non-linear. I was able to successfully remove key moments from Ultron's past as if they had never happened, but the mechanical menace itself is still remained, and as a result of my tampering, I fear that Ultron may have been unintentionally alerted to my machinations. So we do know, obviously, that Ultron was alerted because he knew that someone was erasing his things, his memories. The next morning, a legion of my Doombots defied my direct orders, turning to me and uttering one simple phrase in unison: "I am coming home." Naturally, I destroyed them all instantly, but Ultron's message had been received loud and clear, and while I could not be certain that his targets were set on me, Doom takes no risks when it comes to personal safety. I would have to make a bold move to secure the temporal power needed to finish Ultron before he ascertained that I was his assailant. This is when my brilliant mind drifted back to KRAKOA, home of the mutants and site of their approaching Hellfire Gala. I was well aware of the entire nation had materialized here in my era, torn from an earlier place in time not so long ago. Every living cell on the island must have been bathed in KNULL energy, the very kind needed to complete my work, and so despite my initial misgivings, I realized that the time had come to make my presence known. For while Doom has never been one for festivities, he has always been one to seize opportunities, and the mutants have offered one far too great to go unanswered. So this is Doom actually, responding to Emma Frost's invite and saying, yep, I'm going to attend because there's something at this gala that I can use to try and prevent this future of robots taking over the world in his future, which is really interesting to see what his plan is. If there's one set of people you want at your party to fight against Ultron drones, it is the X-Men. And fight is what they do. And there's a solid squad here of Wolverine, Psylocke, Namor, Magic, Magneto's there. Everyone's there. So this is the Uncanny X-Men part. "You look like hell, Logan," Magic said, "and I should know. I've been there and back." "You ain't looking so swell yourself, Snowflake," Wolverine replied, gesturing towards a huge tear in the Queen of Limbo's elaborate ball gown. "So much for high fashion, eh?" What had begun as an optional evening of dancing and dining on the shores of KRAKOA had unexpectedly erupted into total chaos when Ultron and his mechanical minions hacked their way through a gateway and invaded the island. Every here in attendance had immediately leapt into action to defeat Mutant Nation from technological terrorists. I said here instead of hero. But for Wolverine and his fellow X-Men, this battle was a direct assault on their home. It was personal, and Wolverine knew that when things got personal, they tended to get ugly fast. "You're wounded," Psylocke said, placing a hand on Wolverine's shoulder, right above the spot where a laser beam had burned straight through his jacket, searing a hole into the flesh that it once covered. "I'll heal, Psy," Wolverine replied, "eventually." "Too bad these fancy clothes Emma made us weren't built for battle the same way we are," Magic said. "Agreed," Namor added, slicing his way through a trio of robotic drones using his trident. "I came dressed for a social event, not for a war." "Maybe I can help you with that," Wolverine said. "But we just have to make it to the sextant." "The what?" Namor said, raising a curious eyebrow. Psylocke cringed as she read the Sea King's mind. "It ain't what it sounds like, you deep-sea creeper," Wolverine growled. "The sextant is a habitat on KRAKOA's north shore. It's where our youngest mutants live and train. And when they train," Magic added, "they are required to do so in proper uniform, of course." "Well, what are we waiting for?" Wolverine asked. "Let's go get some gear so we can finish this fight." Wolverine slashed his way through Ultron's army, leading his fellow mutants across the battlefield towards the northern edge of the island. The others added to the growing piles of scrap and circuits as they used their own weapons of choice. Magic with her soul sword, Psylocke with her katana, and Namor with his trident to decimate the droves of dangerous drones. When they finally reached the sextant, Wolverine led them to the Alpha House, where they found a storage chest full of uniforms. "It's been a hot minute since I rocked the old blue and gold," Magic said, reminiscing. "I'm not used to having so much body covered," Namor said with his mild irritation as he pulled on one from the fitting garments. "Nor am I," Psylocke replied. but I find it to be a welcome change. I think it suits you well, Magic said with a smile. You know what they say, Wolverine said, popping his claws once more as he led his freshly outfitted squad back into the fray. The classics never go out of style. And that they don't, especially those old X-Men uniforms go crazy. And now the heroes are all in their outfits ready to crack on with defeating Ultron. But first, they've got to stop Ultron, who wants to get his secret weapon. The reason why he's even here. And why is that? Well, let's have a look. Moving on to stopping Ultron, getting Cerebro and being connected with them. The mutants and the heroes have to get together to fight against Ultron. But what secrets will be revealed on the way? Let's get into this part of the story called Regenesis. No more Ultron, Magneto shouted as he rose into the air on a wave of magnetic force. KRAKOA is a free nation and you shall not take it from us. Dozens of Ultron's drones raced in to attack the mutant leader, but with just a wave of his hand, Magneto crumpled the legion of robotic soldiers into tiny spheres of scrap. Consider this battle. Before the Master of Magnetism could complete his declaration of victory, he was hit with a powerful blast of energy unleashed by the one true Ultron. Magneto, Captain America yelled, racing over to aid his mutant ally. Hang on, soldier. We didn't both survive World War II only to be taken down by some rusty pile of... The captain stopped himself suddenly. He had seen countless allies fall in the field of battle in the years of service, so he knew a fatal wound when he saw one. Magneto wouldn't last much longer. Do not fret, Captain, Magneto said, a strangely reassuring tone in his voice. I'll have died many times before, and this won't be the last. As the light faded from Magneto's eyes, Captain America paused a moment to wonder what his fellow soldier was talking about. Little did he know that the mutants of KRAKOA had unlocked a secret that had changed everything, the secret to eternal life. At the dawn of the X-Men, Charles Xavier used a device known as the Cerebro to locate and contact other mutants scattered across the globe. What started as a simple tool soon evolved into the most important piece of technology in mutant-kind's arsenal. Not only could Cerebro identify and track mutants, it could also store their complete genetic profiles and even their memories. This valuable data was put to good use when mutants settled on the living island of KRAKOA. Thanks to the combined efforts of a small group of X-Men with specialized powers, if any of their fellow mutants met their demise, a perfectly cloned body could be grown in KRAKOA's hatchery. Once that body was deemed viable, it could be implanted with the memories stored in Cerebro, completing the resurrection protocols. For all intents and purposes, mutant-kind had become immortal, but as Magneto's lifeless body lay in the field of battle, Captain America had no way of knowing this truth, nor did he know another secret, a secret that Charles Xavier himself had never dared to reveal, not even to Magneto. As powerful as Cerebro was, it was merely a machine. It was not inherently capable of distinguishing whether the information stored with it belonged to mutants or other life forms. To Cerebro, everything was just data, and with the correct programming and formatting, this data could be applied to the very same processes the mutants had pioneered. In essence, anyone could be resurrected, anyone or anything. It was a secret both man and mutant allies would learn soon enough, in the most unexpected and frightening way possible. So what we learned from this is that Cerebro, it's not just the mutants that can come back. Anyone can come back. Any human, anything. And we know what it means by anything because it is Ultron that will come back as something even more powerful. What does Tony Stark have planned up his sleeve? Well, what we know about Tony Stark, that he's a billionaire philanthropist, and he's a super intelligent man with a crazy high IQ who just so happens to know a little thing about robots. So fun fact, the mutants built themselves a resurrection machine and didn't bother to tell anyone. This is the story, A Lesser Evil. Not so fun fact, Ultron managed to hack into Cerebro's resurrection protocols and brought himself back from the dead after we stopped his invasion of KRAKOA. To make matters worse, that mechanical maniac stole Cerebro and jetted off to the mutant planet of Arakko, that's Mars to you and me, so he can reboot his plans for total universal domination. Not what exactly I would call a win, so you're probably asking, Tony, what do we do about Ultron? For maybe we should call him X-Tron now? And my answer is simple, possibly turn him against himself. See, the reason Ultron was able to outsmart all of us, including me, one of the most brilliant minds on the planet, is because none of us of his level of pure processing power. He's always a million steps ahead, considering every eventuality. So if we want to actually take him down, we're going to need someone on our side who can think as fast as he does. And let me tell you, there aren't a whole lot of options out there, but fate might actually be on our side for once. When the X-Men terminated Ultron's functions, he abandoned his original form for something better, right? That means that he left behind a lifeless but extremely advanced mechanical shell. I considered linking up to Ultron's discarded body and controlling it remotely, but this isn't what we need. That would essentially just be another guy in a suit, and we've already got the best one of those. There is. Next, I thought of downloading Friday into Ultron's husk and letting her take it for a spin, but if something went wrong and he managed to corrupt her systems, all of Stark Industries' secrets would be his to use, and I've got a feeling he'd use them against us. So that left me with one choice, rebooting the original Ultron and hoping for the best. Sounds crazy, doesn't it? Yeah, that's what Reed told me, and T'Challa, and Peter, and pretty much everyone else. But don't worry, I'm not completely reckless. I'll be putting safeguards in place, and they should hold for a while. That means until Ultron can figure out how to override them. He'll be on our side, mostly. So we'll probably know what, better makes the best of what time we have. Who knows, maybe he'll see his other more evolved self as a threat to his prime directive and try and wipe out the competition. That would be swell. And if that happens to identify and eliminate any other potential problems along the way, like say the other guys in the metal mask who seems weirdly focused on getting his hand on Krakoa's supply of chronovium, then even better. Sure, this could all backfire and completely go horribly, and we could end up in Ultron's techno-organic slaves, but have you got any other better ideas? I don't think so. So step aside. Tony Stark's got work to do. So what he meant by that end part with the guy in the metal mask, he's talking about Doctor Doom in 2099, who's weirdly focused on getting his hands on Krakoa's supply of chronovium. But Emma Frost has invited him here to help get rid of all the negative energy with the chronovium. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not sure Doctor Doom of 2099 got that up his sleeve. He may actually have something else. This leads us perfectly into the next chapter of the story, The Queen's Gambit, with Emma Frost trying to convince Doctor Doom of 2099 to help remove all the negative energy from the island of Krakoa. And the next extract and chapter is from that living organism, the island of Krakoa. So this is I Am Krakoa. I have not experienced silence like this in ages, since before the days my fellow mutants decided to call my shores home. Yet mere hours ago, the sounds of war echoed across my verdant landscape, louder than thunder. Tonight, my terrain erupted into chaos as the X-Men and their allies found themselves locked in battle against an invading force of automated assailants. When the battle ended, Ultron had stolen my people's technology and departed for KRAKOA, my counterpart on a planet once called Mars. If I were able, I would rush to KRAKOA's aid, but I am bound to this world, only to watch as those who remain scurry to my most secluded corners to plan their next moves. At the moment, my attention is on the Grove, the chambers of the Krakoan Quiet Council. Usually there are 12 members of this ruling body who convene to make the most critical decisions for the future of mutant kind. However, only one of its delegates has currently chosen to enter these hallowed grounds, Emma Frost. Normally, any discussions here are held in absolute privacy, open to mutants only, but tonight, an outsider has been summoned, the man known as Victor Von Doom. His presence at the Hellfire Gala seemed to raise concerns for many of my citizens, but the fact that he stands here now, in the most sacred of places, is disturbing to say the least. Yet perhaps Emma's heart is in the right place for once. To a telepath like her, it is no secret that I have been suffering. When I travel through the time stream to this era, my landmass absorbed large amounts of chronal energy, poisoning my once lush landscape. From what I can discern, Emma truly believes that Doom's unique skills in the areas of science could help extract that excess energy and cure me from my ailment. In return, Emma has asked Doom to assist my people in defeating the newly upgraded Ultron and reclaiming Cerebro. It's an allegiance that on the surface seems like a win for all mutants, so why is this deal being made in secrecy without the approval of the rest of the council? Because Emma knows they would never approve. Even though the future version of Doom is from the same timeline that we once called home, the likelihood that he has mutankind's best interest in mind is slim. Doom only serves himself, and no matter how good Emma's intentions may be, it is likely that her new ally has already devised a plan to betray her and steal the situation to his own advantage. He could seize enough power to save us all, or wipe out any possible opposition from his foes, not just Ultron, but also mutants and any others who might rise against him and resist his rule. All I can do is watch as my fate is being decided, and the silence has never been more deafening. So from this section we can see Emma's plan was to try and use Doom to help bring KRAKOA back to its thriving self and to be Ultron, the new upgraded Ultron, X-Tron. But Doom always has something up his sleeve. So what is he planning? Why is he here at the Hellfire Gala? We move on to the final battle against Ultron, or should I say X-Tron. And to get this final battle, our heroes need to make a path for him. And this is where the story comes in, of getting Magneto to Ultron. And this story is from the point of view from Hawkeye. And this is Ex Machina. Being one of the most elite marksmen alive means I've been on my fair share of insanely dangerous missions. But I'm telling the truth when I say that your pal Hawkeye has never been on one quite like this. Ultron, or X-Tron, as we're apparently calling him now, has infected all of Mars, or Arakko, as our mutant friends call it, with some sort of fancy techno-virus. Naturally, we stormed the place to put an end to his plans, but during the fight he managed to infect a bunch of us, including yours truly. And let me tell you, hearing that chrome-plated creep chatting away in my head non-stop is no fun at all. But at least I say I was ready for something like this. See, not that long ago, I rescued the Winter Soldier from a super-secret Hydra base. Those jerks had done a bunch of experiments on Bucky that left him with some sort of weird tentacles where his bionic arm should have been. It was a whole thing and it was gross, but the point is, it also left him with an elder god called the Hive whispering in the back of his brain, beckoning him to the dark side. Bucky told me that he manages to keep the voices in his head at bay thanks to a bunch of mental exercises he's learned over the years. Hardcore psychic reconditioning kind of stuff. And while I figured I'd probably never have to use those tricks myself, we had a lot of downtime when we were hanging out in the intergalactic empire of Wakanda. You know, after Cap rescued us and swept us off our feet from the future. Wow, this stuff sounds crazy when I say it out loud. Anyway, long story short, Bucky taught me ways to focus my thoughts in order to not push anyone else's who might try to control them. And it seems like I'm not the only one whose mind tricks up their sleeves. Iron Fist is all about focused, and so far, that chi of his seems to be uncorrupted, and I'm guessing Magneto has some sort of psychic barriers in his fancy mutant brain. Between the three of us, I think we can finish this mission before X-Tron finishes his. Lindley and I will have to clear a path through an endless swarm of mechanized misfits in order to get Magneto close enough to take back Cerebro. He's been saving up every last ounce of his magnetic might to rip that giant gizmo right off X-Tron's ugly noggin. Noggin meaning his head. Then, if Maggie's got any juice left to spare, maybe he can reshape Cerebro into something new to help us put an end to that synthetic sleazebag once and for all. After the enemy's been sent to the scrap heap, hopefully we can do all the damage he's caused to Arakko and to my allies. But even if we erase X-Tron from existence, I've got a feeling none of us will ever be the same after this. So this is just showing and explaining that once X-Tron became X-Tron, he started to infect a lot of the heroes, which is why we have some of the skins, of Hawkeye, Iron Fist, Magneto, and the Winter Soldier, and that's just the way it is. But all these heroes are working together and still not getting took over by Ultron, and doing their best to try and get Magneto as close to Ultron as he can, so he can put a stop to this and take Cerebro back. The only problem that our heroes faced is Doom of 2099 now, because Doom of 2099 has betrayed everyone. He has betrayed everyone. What a surprise. And this is the story. Everyone has secrets. To be fair, the probability of that occurring was 99.9973%. So anyone who expected otherwise was either malfunctioning, or a total fool, or blinded by hope. For Emma Frost, it was the latter. She had summoned Doom to a Hellfire Gala with the best of intentions, hopeful that he could be convinced to use his unique skill set to extract harmful chronal energy from the living island of KRAKOA. Obviously, Doom took little convincing. He happily obliged, knowing full well that the raw energy would grant him nearly unlimited power to reshape the deeply damaged time stream as he saw fit. His first act was to erase Extron from existence, an effort that he boasted he had begun even before he came to KRAKOA. As expected, Doom did not stop after defeating our mutual enemy. Instead, he turned his newfound mount against his hosts, those human heroes who joined the resistance to overthrow his rule, along with their naively decorated mutant allies. He now had the power to wipe any out who might stand in between him and his goals, and he intended to use it. But as always, Doom made a critical error. After Extron was reborn, his previous physical form was abandoned until Tony Stark revived and reprogrammed its firewall to fight against itself. At that moment, Ultron's timeline diverged, and Doom only bothered to erase one of the two paths. He left me, the original Ultron, alive, and I vowed that he would regret it. So at this point, you now know that it is Ultron, the one that got reprogrammed by Tony Stark's point of view. Now knowing that Doom was the one who had originally attempted to remove me from reality, I activated another Prime Directive, Revenge. Before eradicating all of humanity, Victor Von Doom, this fleshling, warranted special punishment for his actions against me. As retribution, I would turn him into the very thing he had tried to destroy. How I love irony. As my unlikely allies drew Doom's attention, I used a distraction to pierce through his armor and infect him with my techno-organic virus. But all was not as it seemed. Inside Doom's metal shell was not a body made of flesh and blood, as I had anticipated, but one made of wires and circuits. The Lord of Latveria had sent one of his loyal Doombots to KRAKOA in his stead. The Lord of Latveria had sent one of his loyal Doombots, sacrificing it in order to keep himself at a safe distance from the harm, the coward. As the Doombot ceased to function, Doom's own words rang through its speakers. He claimed that everything he had seen in his vision of the future had come to pass. Even with all the power he had stolen, he was unable to change the timeline after all. In fact, his very foresight was the first domino that set all of this into motion. He underestimated the mischievous nature of time itself. I will admit, I took great satisfaction in knowing that Doom had been humbled, but that satisfaction soon faded as the chilling truth set in. None of us had the ability to control what was yet to come. All we could do was fight to make sure that the next crisis we faced wouldn't be the final one. And that next crisis that they are going to face is not an easy one. It is a bad, powerful one. And let's get into that. So as the heroes and mutants had defeated Doom and they all waited around, Adam Warlock and his senses got triggered. He has seen something and he has felt a presence that he did not want to feel. This story is from the ashes. So it's over then? Spider-Man asked cautiously. The Gala, Emma Frost replied. No, darling, the evening's just begun. Don't think he was talking about your party, Emma, or Wolverine responded dryly. Not sure any of us are in the mood to dance after all of that. I'm always in the mood to dance, Star-Lord quipped as he kicked the head of one of Broken Ultron's drones into the peaceful waters beyond KRAKOA's shoreline. Only thing I want to dance on is Ultron's grave, Cloak said sternly. I find that remark quite displeasing. Ultron's cold metallic voice resonated with an ominous warning. He didn't mean you, Dagger quickly added as she swapped spots with her partner. He meant that other Ultron, the one who caused this mess. Yeah, Iron Man continued, placing his armoured hand around Ultron's shoulder. You're one of us now, buddy, I hope. Then perhaps he can assist us in repairing the damage his mechanical brethren did to this island. Psylocke said, surveying the destruction around her. KRAKOA has seen better days, Storm agreed, before turning her gaze towards the night sky. Arakko has as well. So, Ultron's not happy. But what does that mean for the rest of the group? As there is still a big problem coming up that none of them were expecting. They will both recover soon enough, Magneto said, and they will continue to evolve. I am Groot, Groot said, gesturing towards the stars. My friend says that if you need someone to keep an eye on Arakko for you as it heals, the Guardians of the Galaxy would be glad to help, Mantis translated. Protecting planets is kind of our thing, Rocket added. Plus, I've been looking for an excuse to get off your miserable mudball. I may have just the excuse you are seeking, Adam Warlock said, stepping forward unsteadily, his hand against his temple. What's wrong, Adam? Captain America asked with deep concern in his voice. I can feel him. In my mind, Warlock continued. The darkness has returned. Who could make the golden god such as yourself tremble in fear? Loki asked curiously. Only one answer, Venom replied. KNULL. I sense him as well, Black Panther added. I must make sure Bast is safe. Null rises again? Hela said with a smirk. Impressive. Don't go getting any ideas, my lady, Loki sneered. Wait, Hawkeye said. I thought we destroyed Null with his own essence or something, didn't we? Guess that codex wasn't a permanent solution, the Winter Soldier responded. Not only did he manage to survive, Mr. Fantastic said, examining a scanning device in his hand, he's growing stronger. Stars are being snuffed out as we speak. We've faced an eternal night before and once, Human Torch said. We've got this. Easy to say, Matchstick. Thing reiterated. But this ain't Dracula. This is the actual god of darkness we're talking about here. Ben's right, Invisible Woman added. How are we supposed to confront one of the primal forces of the universe? Perhaps by calling one of them ourselves, Susan, my dear, Nuthmore responded. As he looked off to the stars, I only pray they are listening, Adam Warlock said, or we are all doomed. And that is the story of Season 2 and 2.5. We started all the way from the beginning of the Hellfire Gala to the party that was happening, to Ultron crashing the party, tries to steal Cerebro, and actually, coming back as X-Tron, stealing Cerebro to try and get all the power. And at this whole time, Emma Frost had Doctor Doom 2099 there to try and save KRAKOA, which in the end, Doctor Doom tried to betray them all. And who actually defeated Doctor Doom 2099? It was Ultron, but not X-Tron. Ultron that was reprogrammed by Iron Man. And it turns out Doctor Doom wasn't even there. He just sent one of his bots to do his dirty work for him. And to top it all off, after they think that everything was done and they can move on and maybe give the party a try, Adam Warlock senses the return and power of Null. His power is gaining every day. And Black Panther starts to worry about Bast being corrupted again, because Bast was being corrupted by Null in the background of all of this. And I've explained Null before. I've got a video on Null, and I've got a full story of Season 0, 1, and 1.5 that if you're interested, just go and check out, because I cover a lot of stories in there. So, moving on to the giveaway again. So the giveaway instructions, like I said, is subscribe to the channel, follow me on X, which is Twitter, at @AdSnapYT, and comment below your in-game name to receive the prize. So, guys, I hope you did enjoy the video. If you did, it's been a long one. Hit that subscribe button, leave a like, leave a comment, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.